you're welcome back to the channel. This video we're going to be talking about the autopilot, one of the most important tools in modern aviation. So through the course of this video we'll get to talk about what the autopilot is, how it works, all the different modes it offers, and also we'll take a look at the different scenarios on how you can actually use it in flight in order to conduct a safe flight. So let's assume you're trying to go on a cross-country flight or just you're trying to reduce your workload. The autopilot is a very important tool in making sure you actually fly the aircraft in a very safe and efficient way. So let's jump right into it, guys. So before we take off, I'll just take a moment to show you guys a few important things about the autopilot. So the aircraft I'm going to be flying today is a Cessna 172 with a G1000 equipment. So as you're going to see here, this is the basic layout of what the cockpit looks like in this aircraft. And over here on this panel here is where we have most of the buttons you will use to actually activate the autopilot. So over here at the top left corner here is the AP button. That right there is basically what actually engages the autopilot. Right here is the heading mode button, and right here is the altitude mode button, and over here is the nav button. And I'm going to also be talking about the VS button with a nose up here, nose down button, and I'll also be talking about the flight level change button. So these are the main components I want us to away from this video in order to understand how to fly the aircraft using the autopilot. So also up here we're going to be running a few of the letters we'll see up here to let us know if the autopilot is engaged or not. And also over here we have this red button that we use to disengage autopilot. So everything I just mentioned, just to recap, the AP button, the heading mode button, the nav button, the VS button, the flight level change button, nose up, nose down, and the altitude mode button. So those are the main things we're going to be talking about for today's tutorial. Alright, so while I'm taxiing here, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the most important things you want to look out for before you take off in an aircraft. So the first thing you want to make sure you do is you complete your takeoff checklist. So always make sure you go through your checklist. And after going through your checklist, you want to call the tower to request the clearance for takeoff. So after you request your clearance, you want to do lights, camera, action. So lights is just turning all the lights on the aircraft on. That way you're more visible to other aircraft. And then this is more important at night. Then camera is basically making sure you put your transponder on altitude mode. Then the final thing, action, is just making sure action is mixture rich. So making sure you have your mixture in there so you don't have any fuel starvation while you're on takeoff. So those are the key things. And then once you complete lights, camera, action, just apply full power and call out airspeed alive. You also call out engine gauges are green. Then when you hit your rotation speed, you just call out VR rotate, and you slowly start pulling the elevator to give you that nice takeoff. So those are the main things we're going to look for today in successfully becoming a takeoff in an aircraft. So idle check, I do my run up. My run up is complete. Then I taxi up to the runway and hold short. So right now I'm just taxiing up to the runway and holding short. I call up tower to request my takeoff clearance. Jimmy Tower Sky 978 Alpha Papa, holding short. Runway 33 at Alpha, ready for departure.
Sky 978 Alpha Papa, Jimmy Tower, runway 33, clear for takeoff, left turn on course, approved.
Clear for takeoff, left turn on course, approved, 978 Alpha Papa. Alright. For takeoff, I look on final, make sure final is clear. Then lights, camera, then action. Full power. Lost my airspeed is alive. My engine gauges are green. And at 55, rotate. About 500, I complete my memory items.
Number 49er,
My climb checklist.
Airspace, requesting free change to
show my full power. is in there.
900
Make sure it's rich.
Traffic directly
flaps up.
a mile and a half at 1,200 feet inbound.
Contact up to approach.
And at 700 feet, I stop my turn on course.
And we're looking for the traffic.
Cessna 925, Sierra Golf, contact Atlanta 119.4.
Kissimmee Tower, Twin Cessna 4043 Golf, holding short 33, ready for departure.
Cessna 978 Alpha Pop, can you estimate what the base of those clouds are?
Sure, I'll probably say a clouds at about 1,500, get off Papa.
1,500 or 1,8?
1,500.
1,500, thank you. Cessna 4043 Golf, runway 33, westbound departure, approved, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 33, westbound, 4043 Golf.
Kissimmee Tower, November 628 Sierra Golf, 9 miles to the west, requesting full stop, with information Sierra, requesting full stop at Sun Station.
Cessna 628 Sierra Golf, Kissimmee Tower, report passing water tower for left base runway 33.
Kissimmee Tower, 120 Alpha at water tower, requesting touch and go.
120 Alpha, thank you, runway 33, clear touch and go. After your touch and go, make right traffic.
Clear touch and go, make right traffic, runway 33, 120 Alpha.
628 will report the water tower to left base 33, 628 Sierra Golf.
Thank you.
Kissimmee Tower, Cherokee 9886 Kilo, 9 miles northwest, coming in for a full stop with Sierra.
Cherokee 9886 Kilo, Kissimmee Tower, report 2 northwest for left down runway 33.
Report 2 northwest for left downwind for 33, 9886 Kilo.
Tower correction from Alpha Papa, looks like they're about 1,800, 1,800.
Okay, 1,800, thank you. And to assist 43 Golf, Cessna depart Haiti, so the base is around 1,800 feet. You can turn left on course.
Left on course, 43 Golf.
Kissimmee Tower, November 110 Delta Mike, holding short of 33, ready for takeoff.
And November 110 Delta Mike, Kissimmee Tower, hold short runway 33. Awaiting alpha release.
Holding short, Delta Mike.
Alright, now that we've taken off and we're climbing to our desired altitude, this is the perfect time to start engaging the autopilot in order to reduce your workload. So you want to start by trimming the aircraft out. This is the important step. Trim the aircraft out to make sure you're flying straight and level and you're at a level altitude. And what you want to do after that is, in order to activate the autopilot, there's several ways to do it, but the main way I like to do it is I like to make sure my heading bug is fixed on my current heading. So I use my heading knob here to select my heading. Currently heading westbound, so I choose that. And then I also select my altitude, which is 1,600, using the altitude bug. And then I hit altitude and heading, and then I hit AP to engage that. So whenever I do that, it helps me maintain my current heading, also helps me maintain the altitude I set, and keeps the aircraft flying in the direction I desire. So just to recap, I use my heading bug here to select my heading, which controls that right there. And then I select my heading, which shows up there as my heading. And then I go ahead and select my altitude using my altitude bug here. Or you can also use this altitude bug here to select your altitude, which gives you your altitude. And then it throws your altitude on there. Then continue flying in this direction. You hit AP to activate the autopilot, and you have the perfect autopilot engaged, flying the aircraft in the direction you desire and at the altitude you desire. So if I want to turn the aircraft, I'm basically just going to use the heading bug, turn the aircraft. So assuming I want to turn to the south, but that sound right there just means my autopilot is disengaged. Right, so you notice I don't have the AP on there anymore, so which means my autopilot is not engaged anymore, so I'd have to hand fly the aircraft at this point. So now I activated the autopilot again, and it's actually turning the aircraft. So if you see right now, the autopilot is engaged and it's turning to the south. As you can see the aircraft turning. But once I get to the south, it's going to roll out and put the wings level on the south heading right there. Another example is if I need to turn back to the west, I can use my heading bug to turn to the west. And as you're going to see, the autopilot makes the aircraft start to turn to the west.
Stop practice area 10 Golf is 3 miles to the east of
All I
Massey, doing
just do is I select the heading
2,000
bug here.
pressure.
If I want to keep turning a little bit more, it just moves that heading bug to like that turquoise looking box right there. It just moves it around. So that's how that works. The next thing is, assuming I want to execute a descent, so the first thing I want to do is bug the altitude I want to descend to. So if I want to execute a descent, I'll use this knob to bug my altitude. I'll say I want to descend to 1,200 right there. And then I'll just hit VS here, VS, I'll make sure VS shows up here, and then I'll hit nose down.
6212, you up?
Once I start hitting nose down, it's going to give me a feet per minute over
Inflight,
here.
12 o'clock.
So that will give me 500 foot per minute climb, as you can see here. So it's my responsibility to adjust the power in this aircraft at this point for descents. And for climbs, it's your responsibility to adjust the power as a pilot.
𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 traffic area, White Diamond, about 3 miles southwest of 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂, headed eastbound into some steep turns at 3000, 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂.
Now I'm leveling off at 1,200, and you see it's pretty much just holding my altitude right now, and I just apply my power back for my cruise power. That way the aircraft maintains the airspeed it needs to maintain. So that's how you execute a descent with the autopilot. So in order to execute a climb with the autopilot, what you really want to do is the same thing. You just use the heading bug to select, or your altitude bug to select the altitude you want to climb to. So zooming out, I want to climb to about 1,600. I'll do that. And then the next thing I want to do for the climbs, I usually use flight level change, FLC. So I hit FLC. Gives me FLC here and the speed, and then I just go nose up. So once I hit nose up, you notice the speed starts reducing.
292 Lima Hotel.
Over here, so once the speed starts reducing, I just hit that.
𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 practice area broken.
My target airspeed of 82 knots, and then I apply full power. The climb. That gives me like a good climb at 82 knots. So the aircraft tries to shoot for 82 knots.
Lima Hotel, currently 5 miles south for flying Baron Estates, we're doing VFLs at 3,500, down to 600 feet. Watch out below. Pop right there.
And once it gets to 1,600, it's going to level off.
𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 traffic, you got White Skyhawk West shore of the lake, 4,000 feet, heading northbound. We're just going to be doing some steep tizzles, 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 traffic. Conrad, what's up, dude?
That's basically how you use the aircraft
Man,
to climb.
living the dream, baby, living the dream. How about you?
Can't complain, I guess.
I guess, right? That's what I keep.
So that's basically how you use the aircraft to climb. So you just bug your altitude first, select the altitude you want to climb to, use the flight level change, the FLC button, then select using nose up, you need to use that to select the speed you want to climb at. So for this aircraft, I typically like climbing at 82 knots, so I use 82 knots, and that's how you execute or climb using the autopilot. So you can also use VS. So whenever you use VS, it gives you the feet per minute. So you can use that to climb, but I usually do not like using that because the aircraft tries to maintain a certain rate of feet per minute climb, and if it has to reduce your airspeed to do that, it's going to do that, and that's not really good because when your airspeed gets too slow, the aircraft can actually stall. So it's always recommended to use that level change for your climbs, and then for your descents, you can easily use the VS nose down. So another option of what we can do is actually use the autopilot to navigate to an airport, or we can use it to navigate to a certain fix or a waypoint. So the feature that does that is the nav button. So the nav button is here. It basically helps you to navigate to a certain point. But in order to use that successfully, you need to make sure you actually have a waypoint set in your GPS. So I'm going to select an airport here, a random airport that's close to us. My GPS, I'll load that in the GPS, and then I'll hit the nav. The nav basically just tries to direct the aircraft to fly to that point. So that's basically how you use the autopilot to fly to a specific waypoint using the nav mode. So if you look here, you hit the nav button here, it throws the GPS on there, and that's how you use the autopilot to track the GPS. So just to recap everything about how to use the autopilot, it's very important for you to be able to use the autopilot to reduce your workload if you're going on a cross-country flight, or if you're just, practicing out and you just need to do a few things to reduce your workload. You can use the autopilot to help you. And the three main things are being able to use the mode, being able to use the altitude mode, and also being able to use the nav mode. So those are the main things you need to watch out for in using the autopilot. So next thing I'd like to talk about is disengaging the autopilot. So in order to disengage the autopilot, you just hit the red button. That sound is basically the sound of the autopilot disengaging. So that's basically how you disengage the autopilot.
Practice area, TOC 65866. We're northwest of 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂, 4,000 feet in the air, practicing powered off stall, 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂.
So I'm going to talk about a few best practices you need to use in order to successfully use the autopilot, you want to be able to always monitor what the autopilot is doing. So that's the first thing, always monitor what the aircraft is doing, monitor your airspeed, monitor your altitude, and monitor your heading. And then the second thing is you also need to be able to know how to disengage the autopilot. So in some cases, the aircraft might not do what you want it to do, so you need to be sharp enough to disengage the autopilot. It's not serving you correctly. And then finally, you always need to have situational awareness. So just understand what's going on around you. Always look around you, try to make sure you understand what the traffic around you is doing or where you're going to. Just maintain general situational awareness. So those are some of the best practices you need to apply when you're using the autopilot. If you got any value from this video, make sure you like, you subscribe to the channel, and you also share the videos so other people that like stuff like this can join us on the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. So finally, to conclude this tutorial, whenever you're returning to the airport, you always want to make sure you disengage the autopilot. This is also a part of the limitations of the autopilot usage. You cannot use it below a certain altitude, so make sure you disengage the autopilot and actually manually fly the airplane to align yourself with the runway and to make it easier for you to actually have full control over the airplane. So remember, the autopilot is here to help you to reduce your workload, also here to make your flying a lot more efficient. So it's not the autopilot's job just to fly the airplane. You're the pilot and you're primarily responsible for flying the airplane. So make sure you're always in charge of flying the airplane, but use the autopilot to your advantage.
29er dew point 24, altimeter 2996. RNAV runway 33 approaching you, landing and departing runway 33. Advise initial contact, you have Tango. Kissimmee Tower, ATIS information, Tango 1417 Zulu observation. Wind variable at 4, visibility 10. Sky conditions ceiling 1,800 broken. Temperature
15768.
Affirmative, I'll call your base.
Thank you so much, 15768.
Cherokee 154, Echo Romeo, traffic you're following is on a half mile finally, evidence sight.
Traffic inside 154 Romeo.
Echo Romeo, follow that traffic, runway 33, clear to land.
Runway 33 clear to land, follow the traffic, 154 Echo Romeo.
And Twin Tectum 8, Uniform Alpha, contact ground point 7.
Ground point 7, 8 Uniform Alpha.
Cessna 120 Alpha, you finally made it, contact ground point 7.
At last, we got ground point 7, thanks a lot, 120 Alpha.
Cessna 8 Alpha Papa, start your base turn, runway 33, clear to land.
Base turn, clear to land runway 3397 Alpha Papa.
Cherokee 15768, you're going to be number 3 for the runway. Traffic you're following is a Cessna on a left base, just off your right wing. Let me know if you get it in sight.
Cessna inside, number 2 to land, 15768.
15768, follow that traffic, runway 33, clear to land.
Clear to land, 15768, following traffic.
Kissimmee Tower, 463 Lima Papa, 2 miles left.
463 Lima Papa, thank you. And left down runway 33. I'll have the sequence for you when you get ready to approach her.
I'll go ahead and make a left down 463 Lima Papa.
Cherokee 154 Echo Romeo, turn right there, Bravo, ground point 7 off the runway.
Right on row and ground point 7, 154 Echo.
And 463 Lima Papa, what's your type aircraft?
𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂
calling on about a 1 mile final runway 33 clear to land. Additional traffic's a helicopter directly ahead of you down low, 500 feet. It's going to stay at 500 feet.
I'll be looking for that helicopter and that traffic on final, clear to land, runway 33, 463 land with Papa.
Cessna 978 out to Papa, turn left at Bravo. No delay down to Bravo, ground point 7 off runway.
No delay to Bravo, ground point 78 off Papa. Thanks.
Clear to land, 15768.
768, clear to land, runway 33.
Thank you, sir. 15768.
Kissimmee Tower, 95 Sierra Golf on RNAV 33.
95 Sierra Golf, Kissimmee Tower, roger, runway 33. And clear for the option. After the option, flight 27.
And so after landing, the main things you want to focus on is do your after landing checklist. It will be good to memorize the after landing checklist items, which in this aircraft is basically just put the flaps up, lean out the mixture, you put the trim back to takeoff trim, and you call ground and request your taxi back instructions. So those are the main items you need to memorize for your after landing checklist. Alright guys, that's it. So that's how to use the autopilot in flight. Remember, the autopilot is a tool that's there to help you or to assist you and not to replace you. So always stay prepared to take over and and I hope you learned something in this flight. If you have any questions, put your questions down in the comment. like, subscribe to the channel, and share our videos. And I'll see you in the next one.